Hello, welcome to Sharon Space. My name is Sharon Davis. Today, I have a special guest, and we're going to talk about how important it is to care for your brain health, as well as your mental health. So stay tuned and let's get ready. Again, I'm Sharon Davis. I'm a transformation coach. This is Sharon Space. And in this space, I share tips on how you can make the rest of your life the best of your life, how to get clear about those things that are really very important to you, and take action steps to make it happen. And the other thing I do on this channel is I share space with fabulous people who transform their lives and are transforming them lives, and they can also give us tips to do the same thing. So today, my special guest is Alexandra Linardakis, and I call her Lexi, and so do many people. I know Lexi because I needed someone to help me with my mother. She had fallen and she hit her head, and she began to show a lot of odd symptoms. Her speech was slurred, and I knew something was wrong. I really didn't know. I actually love the brain and I like to know about the brain, love my neurotherapy. No, my neuropsychology class I took in grad school. I love that. And so I knew something was going on, and I was able to find Lexi. And she does many things, but one is neurotherapy. And she worked with my mother. And I just remember how by the second visit, my mom was able to kind of walk in with her little walker. She was 80 something years old. She walked in with her little walker quickly and walked out. And I knew that there was something happening here. And so since then, Lexi has not only been that person that supports me with my questions about neurotherapy and how the brain works, but she also has become a very dear friend, helping me with other things as well. And so I'm going to let Lexi introduce herself about some of the fabulous things that she actually does. And we're just stay tuned, get a pencil and paper, because you're going to be inspired, but you're also going to get a few tips. So Lexi, tell us about yourself.
Oh, thank you for that beautiful um, painting with your words. I saw so much. I remembered so much, and I am so grateful to be friends together and to have some shared history. So I did get a real inspiration in my 20s and studied anthropology. So I have been informed by the stories of many different continents and what matters to them and what they consider meaningful, what they're attached to. And so I studied anthropology, and I studied dance and actually martial arts
I
um,
didn't know.
from 20s onward. And it was after actually I had a some really bad concussions actually myself that I got into the field of biofeedback, and then became an apprentice to my teacher in biofeedback and neurofeedback and neurotherapy, and was so inspired in the clinic where I was invited to work that I decided to um, then get my um, degree in nursing. So I was looking for a way in, a door into understanding medical science and anatomy and physiology and structure and function, and how they all work together with the body and the psyche and the senses. And I didn't know that I wanted to be a nurse. As a matter of fact, I think I didn't want to be a nurse. I think I was more, oh, I'm going to be a doctor of osteopathy, something. And for other reasons, including I had adopted a 15-year-old, and also I had, you know, roots. I was going to stay in the location where I was and keep working where I was. There was a nursing program, and I went to it, and it turns out that it was a really eye-opening decision. As becoming a nurse, you're working with people's reactions to their medical conditions, and I think that the idea of call and response, or two-lane highways where first this and then that, happens is very relevant for nursing. And in some ways, I don't know how the world sees nurses. I don't know that they see that component. Even nurses themselves, ourselves sometimes, it gets so busy, the world and our jobs and our tasks. So I was so grateful I became a nurse, and I'm continuing to go forward in my nursing education. So I am very devoted to learning as my colleagues and I continue to um, collaborate with one another and different folks from the world of clinical neuroscience and research neuroscience, and then looking at the different systems, gastro-metabolic systems and cardiac and respiratory systems, and our brains, and how in many regards we are these multifactorial, multi-system creatures that are really better together. I think we're better together, and I think it's beautiful that um, we are beginning in our conversations, and science is beginning to look and say, "Oh, brains entrain one another." Oh, isn't this interesting? The stomach is connected and is picking up on signals of threat um, from the behaviors of somebody else. And so the fact that um, we keep discovering and keep learning and having conversations means a lot to me. And so that's a little bit of my past, present, and hopefully future.
Okay. So thank you for sharing that. I heard a lot. I have to go back and like a few things I definitely did not know about. So let's let everyone understand a little bit more about, I mentioned at the beginning, what is neurofeedback, biofeedback? What is your snapshot version of what that is?
Well, in the context of how I earn my living, biofeedback is uh, using the electrophysiology. So using people's signals from their body that could be measured at the level of the skin or the scalp. So we could talk about EEG, that's electroencephalography. So you could put a sensor on the scalp, sensors on the ears. You're going to be able to record waves, and you're going to be able to um, not only record the waves, but let somebody see their own electrophysiologic signals. So you can say, oh, look, here's your brain waves at this one location. And let's say we're going to put the electrodes at the top and center of the scalp. So central, right along the midline. Here we have um, some information. We're going to let you see it. And it's almost like looking in the mirror. You say, huh, oh, that looks beautiful and calm. Who knew? Or you're going to say, ah,
So
mine is
what is it that you're seeing or that your patient or client would see? What is it they're actually seeing when you say that?
that is, it will depend on the relationship. And many times the client will just see the squiggly lines, will have a specific shape or morphology, and that will explain it, will break it down some and help people understand their own brains, and maybe validate some of their lived experiences that they wanted better help with understanding. Other cases, other situations, people are really looking to help down regulate some of their anxiety. And so biofeedback, neurofeedback can give people ways to do that, little tiny steps at a time, finding their own way. Okay, it's coaching in some ways. You say, let go of trying, don't try too hard, let this unfold, notice how you're feeling, become aware. Maybe it's easier to close your eyes, open your eyes. And with the feedback, the question is, what's the feedback? Sometimes it's visual on the screen. You see something beautiful. You could maybe fly an eagle with your brainwaves. Oh, you're distracted then. You're not trying to figure it out too much. Because when we all try to figure stuff out too much, especially when it has to do with something as intimate as our survival brain and our, exploratory brain. And it's overwhelming in some ways. So you want to keep it simple, give something that helps people say, oh, look, that's me. I have so many people, they don't believe it. So they'll try to mess it up and they'll try to do the opposite of what I suggest. And then they, oh, I see, I did that. Okay, so I must be able to do the other, which is at ease, bring it down, slow down. And then you start to see the waves. Nice and easy.
Let me see if I understand this. I know a little bit because I have actually experienced it. So you connect these, what are they called?
Electrodes with sensors.
Electrodes to different parts of your body, particularly in this area, in the head area. And if I'm anxious or I'm experiencing some anxiety, it'll show up on the screen or whatever the display is. Is that correct? By some waves.
Exactly. You
And then
got it.
you work with the individual to try to get the waves calmer. Is that what it looks like?
That's sometimes if that's what somebody is coming in for, what
Mhm.
we're and calmer or more alert and more, so it's really the individual that gets to say. And this is what's beautiful about the psychosensory techniques that I use, of which neurofeedback is one. And the idea here is that it's going to be led by the client. The client is going to be in control and say, this is what I need. Some people, they say, you better leave my anxiety alone. It is there. I trust it and it's good. It keeps me safe. What I really want help with is, let's say I have slurred speech, or let's say I have problems focusing. There's plenty of people, high anxiety, on all kinds of medication. And they say, no, I need help paying attention. I can't pay attention, and that's why I'm so anxious. Who ends up being really the person's narrative drives, and we go a little at a time. So although there could be long lasting positive impact and influence from neurotherapy, um, we are building a fiduciary, a trusting relationship with one another. And that's what matters, I'd say, the most, is if somebody's going to trust me, if I'm going to behave in a trustworthy manner. And so a lot of that involves, and that's why I said in the beginning, well, when people say, what's biofeedback? I say, oh, I'm going to be using sensors and there will be screens or there will be speakers. You might get some nice auditory feedback when you're shifting your brain rhythms into the desired, the agreed upon direction. That's active entrainment, and the person is okay, we're doing this. There's other types of neurofeedback, neurotherapy, and it's more of a unconscious, a disentrainment model that helps shift a person's stuck patterns. We call it the dominant frequency. And so there's different types, and in many regards biofeedback is happening all the time, and we're getting feedback, oh, I see your face and you look like it might be a good time for me to pause with all this talking. And so I might be like, okay, yeah, how's it sounding? And then I'll say, time to be quiet. Or you might look like you want more, you want more. I'm not saying enough. Then I might go a little further. So there's that kind of nonverbal communication that I also would say is part of biofeedback.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is we can really train, we can get information from our brains,
Mm.
and then we can do things to help get to the direction we want to go
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah, I really appreciate what you took from that. Uh-huh.
Okay.
My goodness, you got it. Mhm.
So you have this amazing skilled background in this area. I know some of the, conferences you've presented in and things like that. So how did you like fall in love with this whole area?
Oh, well, It's a conflicted relationship, actually. And so what happened was I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to fall in love with this. And I feel like it really reoriented my desire in my life, where I wanted to go, what I wanted to be doing. And I couldn't have seen it. I couldn't have predicted it. And what happened was I saw it help me in ways that I feel like I was better than before my concussions. After doing neurotherapy, really feel like it had such a transformational impact for me at a time when I had unrelenting, unremitting headaches and I couldn't read. I mean, I couldn't read and I love reading, but my brain processes were really a tangled mess. And it was from the repeated multiple concussions. And I could say that with 100% certainty. And I could also say that I feel quite certain that many people, our brains do heal themselves, and not everybody needs neurotherapy or neurofeedback. There's so many things people figure out. For me, it was life changing, and for me, I was so honored by the invitation to come work at this clinic where I was invited. And before that, I had been working in direct care with people with different disabilities, and I was also working on some I was doing a lot of dance, modern dance. So I was in love with dancing. I was in love with doing choreography and teaching dance classes. And that's why it's a conflicted relationship with neurotherapy. And so I was invited to work at this clinic after I recovered from my own concussion and saw so many success stories, so many beautiful, subtle improvements. And I was not ready for what I saw. I could cry thinking about it. It was so, so meaningful. And I worked with a beautiful family, a husband and wife, and the husband was the psychologist. The wife was a artist and a storyteller and a computer whiz. And she taught me so much about computers and really opened a secret doorway almost, to understanding how to use them because I don't know that I had that in my stars either. But these two people were really such mentors to me, and that was significant. And what's happened is that now, decades later, I'm able to incorporate the body more and movement more. So that's meaningful. That even though it was conflicted um, onset into, okay, I'm going this way now. I have to help people because I can't deny these things I've seen and the ways it's helped people. Somehow I felt obligated morally, actually. And now it's, coming down into the body in different ways with my practice and with what neuroscience I think is really learning too and finding. So that's a little bit of the story.
Okay. So, you shared earlier, like the different pieces of your life and how you got to where you are. Lots of stories of growth, right? And changes, transition from deciding to become a nurse, continuing with the neurotherapy. Do you, is there a particular dream that you are focusing on now that you would like to share?
Yes. And it's poignant that you are a star in helping me recognize my dream. And and the dream is to develop this mobile clinic that I have and have already been dreaming into reality. And my dream is for the mobile clinic, to be able to go to hospitals and to be there for nurses and to go to schools and be there for teachers and to go to places where there is more need than the medical system as it is able to deliver in a timely and meaningful manner. So um, also working with the VA and different people from these different larger establishments. Often there's so much service, you know, veterans have given so much service, nurses have given so much service, and teachers. And what's happening and happened is that they are exposed and seeing things and having to put some of their more vulnerable parts aside to be there for others. And I my dream is to bring them service and nurturing and caring of what they need, but also, you know, of the sort that I'm specializing in. And so I am realizing that dream one day at a time, one step at a time, as I'm having different conversations. And the van is named Stuart, and as a name to pay homage to a pioneer in the field of neurofeedback who really helped people with concussions. His name was Stu Donaldson. And so Stuart is a bottom up van who's wheelchair accessible. There's a seat for the client, a seat for the clinician. All of my different healing tools are in there, and it's a safe haven. And I'm looking forward to developing contracts with different places who would say, oh yes, let's give this a try and see who might be interested. So that's part of my dream.
So thank you. Thank you for sharing your dream. I love Stuart. So tell me a little bit. So if Stuart showed up at a school and you said you wanted to support teachers or support educators, what would an educator be in for?
Well, what I have is I have a one-page document that goes over the different services that I have to offer. So one column will show, oh, these are the assessments that Lexi does. And I do a variety of assessments. Some of them you're at rest and you're having 19 channels of your um, EEG recorded at the level of the scalp. And then we're able to look at that data and turn it into brain maps. So some people just want to understand what's going on a little better. They want more to do the assessment. They're not so sure what they want to do in terms of an intervention. I also do some neurocognitive testing that is computerized and normed and really helps validate some things for people. So some people they want that. Some people they want something more like teach me how to cope better with the stress of the day. So there's some real accessible biofeedback programs, super easy, maybe one sensor on the ear or the finger. It's going to be looking at heart rate variability, biofeedback, the relationship between the heart and the lungs, very intimate. So people are going to be able to maybe close their eyes first, settle in, settle down, notice that they're actually breathing, notice that there's actually movement that happens when they're sitting still from the breath, from that big heart that we have, these electromagnetic fields that are palpable to some. So they'll sit there, let the waves get recorded. Then at an opportune moment, I'll say, hey, how about we open our eyes and look at some of what's unfolding on the screen? So introduce them a little bit to one of their signals, because we have so many that could be recorded. So sometimes the heart rate variability, it's a game platform. You could color a garden that goes from white and black, black and white, gray, to all of a sudden colors, sounds, animals, beautiful. People love that.
Do you
Uh,
have the, I'm sorry, you want to finish?
oh no, no, go ahead. This is
My brain started going when you were describing things. Are there any strategies or tips that you could give people who are watching about if they are working in I've been I've been visiting hospitals a lot lately. And so I can see the level of stress that's there. I know what's going on in education. I also know what's going on in the world too. So are there any strategies that you can share that would help someone kind of calm down in a, you know, and not look, and because they don't have the electrodes.
Yeah, I love that question. And what I would suggest is that there are plenty of sensors within us, and we don't need electrodes. They're good, they're helpful, but
Mhm.
um, sometimes they're also distracting. So yes, um, closing our eyes, taking the eyelids, and um, just bringing them right down over the eyes when you're in a safe situation to do that. Sometimes what that allows, excuse me, is for us to pick up on some of the signals within us because we're um, meant to have that capacity. So closing the eyes in a safe environment will sometimes be a real great way to pick up on signals and just notice and become aware of what is going on. And so the other way, because that really is a way and could be as simple as that, you close your eyes. You're in a safe place. You make sure of that first. You close your eyes. And I've been using a 90-second technique where you do that for 90 seconds. Maybe you set the alarm on your phone first and you sit and it's like you're listening. Oh, what do you need to tell me to your inner self? What are you picking up on? What do you need? What do you need me to know? So that's the noticing and the awareness part.
Before you
Now,
take the second one, can I share something about that?
of course.
So so when I was working full time in schools,
Mm,
and I would I'm facilitating a meeting, or sometimes I would be a participant in the meeting, and you know the meeting may be going haywire for different reasons, and I would have to take a break, and I would, you know, excuse myself and go to the restroom just to breathe. So I love this idea of giving yourself permission to take that 90, if you don't even have the 90 seconds, take that 30 seconds and just go to the restroom. Say you need to get water, do whatever you need to do to get out of a particularly stressful situation, just to give yourself the gift of that regrouping, like what you said. And I love the way you said is put your eyelids. How did you decide that? Put your eyelids down.
and it's like pulling the shades. Oh,
Yeah.
we're gonna let your nervous system get a break from all of the bombardment of sensory input.
And it
All
sounds
of the
very intentional. It sounds so much more intentional. Instead of saying close your eyes, to say let your eyelids come down. It sounds much more intentional, which seems to be important.
And I got this from, oh, I've been recording EEGs for a long time now. And there's a big difference between an eyes open EEG recording and the eyes closed EEG recording. Not for everybody, not for everybody. For many people though. And so for some people, that is a way. For other people, eyes closed, that is not a safe sense that they have. They do not want to do that. You are not going to force them to do that. That's a, it's a way. It's not the way. It's a way. But yes, I purposefully say that because actually, right now my eyelids are down a little bit, but I can still see what in the world is going on around me. So that dropping the muscles that hold the eyelids open, we're not even conscious of the muscles we use to keep our eyes open, but we're using muscles. So, uh, I'm full of little tricks like that, but I wouldn't have had them without looking at all the EEGs and working with all the people over the years. And so now um there's some things that say, oh, wise, simple. Anyway, the other component, the other technique, may I share that? Is this a good time?
Yes, yes, I'm excited to hear it.
Cool. So it turns out that there's nodes, there's epicenters of cells, of tissues in certain places. Like we could maybe all think of the center of a town, maybe where we grew up, or where there's, a hub. A lot of people come there, and there's something that attracts them. So with our physiology, there are epicenters and hubs or nodes of, excuse me, where there's a lot of touch receptors. And those areas have sensitive points per square centimeter. And they happen to be in the palms of our hands, some of them, and on our faces. And so, what I have found through studying something that has been around for a couple decades, it's a psychosensory technique called havening. And to get into the story about havening, maybe I might beg you to have me on and interview me again another time just about that. But for the sake of today, I'm going to suggest that I just show you the havening touch, which can be done and shown to people and have some in the moment immediate feedback. And it's using our hands as sensors, but also delivery of sensory input. Our hands are able to deliver the sensory input that actually um, allows for a slow oscillation, a slow wave to be delivered to our brain from this touch to help all kinds of real interesting biochemical processes. So the touch goes from the hands, from the wrist to the fingertips. And there could be a rate, there could be a pressure, just to whatever you like. This could be done under the table. So when you start to feel one way or another, you could, okay, I'm going to take care of myself, but I got to stay for whatever reason. Maybe I can't, say, excuse me, I need to go to the restroom. So the hands, and it's the palms of the hands. And the other place is over the face. And you don't have to cover the eyes. You could just do it under the eyes, or you could go over the whole face. And then there's the third place would be the shoulders down to the elbows, wiping. I go in one direction just because I'm me. Other people, they'll go up and down. The idea is that these three locations, there's some good signaling that's going to be going on from the touching of these three locations. And with different nurses and teachers and veterans that I've worked with, I've gotten some real positive feedback that has a utility to it at different times. So it's a tool in one's toolkit.
Absolutely. So I've worked with Lexi with Havening, and it has been a game changer. And when I work in schools and we talk about just, how they can get distracted or how they can get dysregulated from whatever's going on, and so, like, I find that even like when I'm speaking, I do this a lot. And when I was sharing it with them, what came out is that if they're doing it, you'll be surprised how many students will start picking up just by observing and asking questions about it and start doing it. So I havening this is it works. um please give it a try. Thank you for sharing that, and I'll definitely have you back to go into a little bit more about havening. So thank you for those amazing strategies and techniques. I'm still thinking about Stewart, because I was a little bit on the journey with you well, about Stewart. So when you first, how did you know that this was, you started with nothing, you had this idea, right? Which it always starts in our head first, from inside out, before it actually materializes. And you had to basically create this van, basically not from scratch. I mean, you didn't have to get the wheels and build the wheels, but the interior of the van you created. And so how did you keep going? How did you stay inspired to go from this idea in your head to actually have Stewart parked I'm not sure where Stewart's parked, but I'm sure it's parked somewhere right now.
So how did the idea transform into a actuality that's outside of me that is here?
Yes, yes.
And
Mhm.
I think I had people who helped birth that with me, that idea. And I tested the waters of the interest of somebody I know who's actually a materials engineer, and his wife, who's a humanistic educator. So these two individuals are longtime friends, and it was the pandemic, and I was worried about this family not having a way to make a living. I had a small inheritance that I had been already dreaming into, that I would like to do this, and I think the pandemic hit me in a way, reverberated through me, and I was uncertain about many things, except for how I have seen the different aspects of neurotherapy and the psychosensory techniques that I have access to help people. And so I said, okay, let's go. And I wasn't sure. I didn't think that they would actually be open to it. Honestly, I was insecure. And I proposed the idea without too much censoring. I just did it because they're people I know, and they said, "Oh, that's interesting." Yeah. And I got real organized, and I said, this is what I want to do. And there was the onset, there was available time, and so I went searching, I went exploring, and there was a lot of you know oh, not this, not that, not this, not that, but this. And so there was a good amount of needing to work together. We had a lot of meetings. There were a lot of meetings, and so I would say uh I asked for help. I got lucky, and I was directed from the inside out, and I was listening to that. It was hard not to, because I was, um, locked inside in some ways. So it was hard to not pay attention, hard to avoid what was emerging. And um, I would like to share something that is pretty deep and interesting to me
Please.
about Stuart, and how I brought this dream forward. And um, there was the more dreamy part with you, actually, you doing coaching with me, that I didn't understand the, like, feed forward, feedback. I mean, I understand it in so many ways, that, like, you don't know the time you're in now, how much that'll become relevant later. You don't know it. You're in it in the moment. So here we are. We don't know how much of an impact this might or might not have. And so I was doing this. I think you had said, "Oh, I'm working on being a coach." And I said, "Great. Let's do it." I was all in. And as much as time allowed, and I had no idea what it was, the building blocks that it was putting in place. And I had no idea what harrowing experiences I was going to find myself in the midst of, um, that would actually necessitate my soul, my spirit, to have the blocks that were put in place with the work that we did together, to say, don't forget that you have that. Look at this. Look at all these different pieces that are already in place. You're gonna be okay. So I um I got into a way with finances where the river was dry. I had nothing left. And I said, okay, well, I'm a nurse. I'm gonna go work as a nurse. I have to make ends meet, and there's other parts of my story. I need to fund them. Okay. So I get a job as a nurse, and I went into a situation working with uh folks at a brain injury and rehabilitation center, and I was inspired. I thought I might be able to contribute. and help. And what I found was that there was a nurse to patient ratio that was way beyond my capacity, one nurse, 20 to 40 patients. And I was not okay. And I tried to stay because I got attached to the patients, and um I got attached to the nurses. I tried to stay, and it was not for me. I didn't have the capacity. I don't think I wanted to have the capacity. I didn't know it. And I did go to a place where I got my heart broke, which was really good, really, really good. And I had you in my head, and I had the different places that we created together through visualization and through some of the exercises you helped me with, where I said, it's okay, you can contribute to this field with a form that is yours and that is going to use your capacity, and not some other buddy's um situation that they've created. I said, okay, more than ever right now, I have to be true to this dream. And so I have been reinvigorated by some real confrontations I had to confront a lot in myself and this world, and to almost um take the next leap on my journey. So I am recognizing, and excuse me, was just spending hours yesterday in Stewart in the van, and working on some things. So yeah, it's
You know,
it's it's a mystery in some ways, the way dreams manifest.
yes, I agree. They kind of take on a life of their own, right? So just congratulations on Stewart and the growth and how it's continuing to grow. What what I speak about on this channel as well when I'm working with my clients is you have to get, I always say AAA, you have to aim for what you want. And you really did. You got clear. You had this idea that was internal, and you started to get clear about it. And then you took I would call it a big ask. You took that chance and you asked that couple about helping Stewart come. So we need support, right? We can't always do everything by ourselves. And there are people out here,
Right?
who support us.
Yeah.
And so not only did you get really clear, then you took the action, you took those steps. And I love how you needed to pivot for a
Mhm.
bit, right? You went and got the nursing job, and then you're like, okay, this isn't working. You were true to yourself, this isn't working. And then you pivoted again. Um, and I heard you say, I was going to ask you about growth opportunities, like what challenges, and you said you were insecure, right? And you had to kind of overcome that. And so
Mhm.
it's not always easy, but just congrats, because you actually, made that happen, or continuing to make that happen. So we're starting to finish up, and how, if someone wants to know more about havening, more about this neurofeedback, I have a lot of people in my life, as well as people of clients who are neurodivergent. And so
Mhm.
I know they're going to want to know more about how particularly I've been hearing a lot again. It seems like ADHD got a little quiet. Now it's kind of upticking again, but how different neurodivergent categories or symptoms can be helped. So how can they get in touch with you?
Well, I have a website. It's TetraLexRN, and that is TetraLexRN.net. And I have a business in upstate New York. So one of the things I offer is a free half-hour consult. And I'm happy to kind of think with people, feel with people about, where they are, what's the local resources, that kind of thing. If people could also, we could do that on video or on phone. And so also Havening has a website. It's havening.org, and just spelled out HAVENING.org.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. Get in touch if you would like to know more havening and the neurofeedback. It's really both have been a game changer in my life. So so what are you most excited about your next steps? What excites you most?
What excites me most is looking at the environment and the um, landscape and the situation that people who identify as neurodiverse find themselves in, and starting to work with um, folks and modulate those things, people who work in the towns and the cities who could say, oh, yeah, we could make this space available. Oh yeah. Oh, okay, here's some open space. We could do something with that. So starting to say, yes, we do have a certain degree of responsibility. We're responsible to know ourselves, what we need, be able to express that. And I think what I'm really excited about is to start to look at but what about the cities and the towns and the schools and the hospitals and the other centers? Like what could those, starting to work with my knowledge base as a nurse and a neurotherapist, and say, hmm, maybe we could have some safe spaces, some safe havens that are identified besides the bathroom stall, because how many people go to the bathroom for safety? You know, and what a wise thing, and also what an irony, is that that is what our society in some ways has, as maybe like, oh, I know I could go there. Then people um I'm gonna say, I worked at a hospital for a while where they had, actually, it was I worked in a psychiatric inpatient acute unit, and they had a comfort room. So
Mm.
they had comfort rooms where the lights were a certain way. They were low. They had some hues and some tones. And so they had some soft things, some things with curves, and not so many edges and not so many white walls. And so I am excited about changing the external environment, and keeping nature and keeping beauty as real clear needs. And I'm gonna take a pause because I get worked up about this.
I
So
can hear your excitement, and it's a little contagious. So part of one of my big dreams is to create energetically and emotionally safe spaces for people to co-create, connect, thrive, and grow. And so we definitely need to connect about the external, like the physical environment as well. So thank you. Um, so as we're winding up, I just want to say thank you so much, Lexi, for giving us your sharing your wisdom, sharing your heart, sharing your mind with us. I appreciate you, as you know, on so many levels. And I'm glad that people got a little taste of what is possible. And I did want to share that when my mom had when she had that traumatic brain injury, the assumption is that she would just become, she was about maybe 84 when this happened. And she went to one of the country's most renowned clinics for like Parkinson's. And what the feedback we were getting was that she was going to become going to have dementia, like she was just, cognitive decline, and she never had it. And what I love about the space that you create for people is that there's hope, because you're trying these different techniques and seeing what's working, where sometimes the traditional approaches really don't work. And so you definitely gave me hope, but also the results. It wasn't just hope. It was hope. And then and the results were there, because I kind of thought that something else was going on. And so if you think something is going on, you might want to see, especially if anything happened with the brain, what it is. So I appreciate that as well. Do you have any final thoughts or anything you want to say before we sign off?
I do. I do. Thank you for asking. First, I just want to say thank you for finding me. Then that allowed me to find you, and it really has been a journey that includes imagination.
Mm,
And what I want to do is just read a quote, and it's from Remapping Your Mind: The Neuroscience of Self-Transformation Through Story. The book's by Louis Mail Madrona and Barbara Mangai. The quote is as follows: Imagination is not just an artifact. We have no faculties that are present in us merely for entertainment. All of our human abilities appear to be critical for survival, and it is reasonable to suppose that imagination, which gives us the ability to create new realities and experiment with what is a practical faculty designed to help us across that hurdle to human transformation, fear of change. In some senses, our work is to learn how to engage our imaginations in the construction of a new reality.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate you. And we'll definitely have you back again. Thank you so much. We will be following up with some more guests. So stay tuned, subscribe to Sharon Space, and I'll be back later. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Let's see if I can stop recording.
You can, I know you can.